killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So you said that they put millions of my people. Yes, you said. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering?
Absolutely.
Should a thief go to jail when he steals?
Absolutely.
Should a robber pay back the money he robbed?
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did?
That's right.
That's right.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacles set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never our home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. Main fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles and make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a
Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in this body, you fit a Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they making oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mass shooters. That was designed fire for our babies to pass through it. And the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Don't think I got this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, at my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. How when I get mad, turn the Sharface. Yeah, nigga. Fuck, I'm talking about now. Hey, tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is, tell me what you wanna do. Put sad boy plotting on who? I done seen it all before I came through. Must don't understand, nigga, I'm in the truth, lame ass nigga. But these crackers tryna shoot shit my way. 100 down rides on the highway. Only thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. Now when I get mad, turn the Sharface. Yeah, I'm up in South Beach with this shit, nigga, Miami. Fuck on me. Tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is. I'm always in the field, always dressed to kill, nigga. What the fuck you talking about? But you pussy boy, but you ain't talking about nothing, but you ain't making noise. You ain't on that shit thought you was. Who the fuck these niggas thought they was? They don't get shot at the tough, that's a toe tag. Lame man, cracker don't want the guns on me. But these people wanna know everything. But the booze and the chica, I tell these soft ass boys how to think. Man, I'm on my grind, let it hang. Yeah, my nutsack on these fuck niggas, man, I don't give a fuck what they be hating on, cause I'm up, nigga. What the fuck, nigga? Who the fuck these niggas thought they was? Yeah, all the time a nigga growing. All the time a nigga knowing. Gotta stack it up, keep that bitch flowing. Hey, hey, tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is. Gotta flip the deal, gotta keep the steel. Killer being killed, nah, nigga, for real, I'm ready for real. Nigga, I'm ready for the war, nigga. But these crackers tryna shoot shit my way. 100 damn rounds on the highway. Only thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn to Scarface. Now when I get mad, turn to Scarface. We up here with the scene, nigga, with the Colombians, shit. Cutting niggas' heads off and shit. Tell me how it is, tell me how you feel. Always just a kid, shoot 'em up the hill. Gotta keep it still, nah, nigga, for real. Hey, these boys think they talking about. Why X out your rank, walking on your sand. On the highway, chasing out the bands. Boy, wanna hate, they don't understand. Boy, wanna hate, soft two cans. Sam, ass nigga. I told you through that nigga, they don't know it. Yeah, chasing out the one, I love that shit. Cause the thrill of the hunt keep me on my shit. Yeah, the dagger on my hip with a stand-up clip. Yeah, motherfucker, we'll kill your ass. We'll motherfucking dissect your ass. Cut a head off, put a body for the buzzers. Matter of fact, fuck them buzzers, nigga. You know we head hunters. Hey, call nigga Sharface, nigga. What the fuck you talking about? Yeah.
Any man give his life for Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, and Christ, and fall up under that UPK banner. Is my brother and my blood, and I will die and kill for him if necessary.
Go to ground, 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 go to ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Take ground, 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 take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Take ground, take ground, take ground. Now this ain't no movement, this a takedown. We will not be moved or intimidated. We ain't the type. You got a problem, tell them cross the fucking line. My niggas ain't polite. Soldiers to the left and right. I die for every man body. Before I be a coward, I'd rather be a dead body. This will be my kingdom when the hour pass. You can either get with it or get flipped like an hourglass. We live by honor and no excuse. Just sit to pray up to the Lord. I told him, then let all the terrorists loose. Hold your tongue or get rebuked, cause you made a truce. With a race to make merchandise, how to buy bills. Scared of who? You got your gun, then pull it. Me and my niggas start to argue, it's about who gon' bite the bullet. It gon' take round, take round, take round. Opponents better move slow. Attack dog for this truth, nigga, cool zone. Go to ground, 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 go to ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Give ground, give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Take ground, 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 take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Oh, thought you could cross us with no consequence, but you will pay dearly. You should've used your common sense. My zeal lit, that means you could never prevail. Hey, with a true sin, hey, when warriors dwell. Be wise with them weapons, cause I promise. My nine just like my wife, she concealed, she modest. I know two things, a robber will not prosper. And any man harm me and my octave gon' meet the doctor. Cause this life is warfare, it's not an easy walk. Been watching my people die, so you can miss me with that love talk. My UPK soldiers, any man try to cross your path, make him regret it. What that mean? Fall on his ass. Comparing me to you really ain't no contest. Long live one West. Say what? Long live one West. This for those who thinking we ain't ready
All right. Shalom, Israel. You live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer will holding down the class live from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday here in Memphis, we have classes from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Since 1969, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge has been teaching so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on this earth. And what we like to do with these classes is give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible, to learn the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has placed inside of this book, so that we can come back to being the people that He called us to be, and reclaim our righteous place on the earth as kings, priests, princesses, and daughters of Zion. With that being said, we like to start the classes off with questions. If any brothers and sisters have questions online, all you have to do is type them in. If there are no questions online, if any brothers and sisters have questions in the room, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. You can ask your question. All right. For some of you, this may be your first time tuning in. If you're not familiar with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we have been around since 1969. We're an organization that deals with the Bible from a cultural and historical perspective. This is not a religion. This is not, you're not going to hear what you may be used to hearing in the Christian church or in the Muslim mosque or any of those, what they call them, Abrahamic faiths. We believe that we are the descendants of the people that the Bible was written by and were written to. And if you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation without the dogma and the propaganda of religion, you will see that this is a book that's about one nation of people and their dealings with the Most High God. Today, we are in the 6th day of the month of Salakia. We are in the, hold on, bear with me. We are in the 14th day of the 12th month, which the Bible calls the month Hadar, and we are celebrating the Feast of Purim, which is a celebration that comes about in the book of Esther. All right, so in the book of Esther is, before I get into it, the topic of tonight's class is the audacity of Mordecai, because when you read the book of Esther and you read about the events that unfold that lead to the Lord establishing that we remember this period of time throughout all our generations, and the great works of the sister Esther and what she did to maintain, our lineage and our identity and our culture and our history on this earth. It was all preceded and all the events of the book of Esther are set in order by a man named Mordecai. And his brother Mordecai is a man that deserves to be honored, deserves to be recognized. And today we're going to do a case study on the audacity of Mordecai, which caused all the events of the book of Esther to unfold. But for those of you who celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween and the 4th of July, the Bible doesn't give us any of those days to celebrate. In the Bible, God established the holy days that He wanted the children of Israel to keep. And you can read about that in the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Throughout the history of our nation, there were 2 more celebratory feasts that were added. One of them is the Feast of Purim that you read about in the book of Esther. The other one is the Feast of the Dedication, which the world calls Hanukkah. We call it Hanukkah, and it comes out of the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees in the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha are the 14 books that were removed from the 1611 King James Bible around the year 1800 by the Protestant Reformation. I have an Apocrypha here. This is large print from the Holy Bible, 1611 King James Version. The Apocrypha contains the 14 books that were removed from the Protestant Reformation. It's the part of the Bible that exists between the end of the Old Testament and the book of Malachi and the beginning of the New Testament with the book of Matthew. And so in that record of what occurred during the days of the Greeks occupying Israel and colonizing us, there's the story of the Maccabean Revolution, which is reported in the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees. When they took the land back from the Greeks, kicked their oppressors and colonizers out, they had a celebration to rededicate the temple that the Most High, that Solomon had built, and they had an 8-day celebration. So those are the high holy days that we celebrate. We keep the feast. We celebrate the Feast of Purim. We celebrate Hanukkah. We celebrate the Passover, which is coming up April 4th in Houston, Texas. You understand, the Passover was a mandatory family reunion that God put in the Bible in Leviticus 23 for all Israelites to gather in one place once a year to remember the great work that the Lord performed in delivering our ancestors out of the land of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Once upon a time. Most High delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt. He said, forever, wherever you go on the earth, once a year, y'all got to come and gather together to keep the Passover and remember what the Lord did in delivering us out of the hell that was slavery in Egypt. And it's important today because we are in the hell of the child of Egypt. You understand? The child of Rome, which is America. And the Lord wants us to remember the same way he delivered us out of those places, he will deliver us out of this place. And so those are the high holidays we keep. So the Feast of Purim is especially, important for us. And we're going to go into the story of Mordecai today. All right. So I don't see any brothers and sisters have any questions. And if I don't have any questions, then we'll go ahead and get to it. Bear with me. So first, let's go ahead. Let's start early in the book of Esther. Let's get the book of Esther and let's get chapter 2 so we can get some background on who this Mordecai was. All right. And get some understanding of Mordecai. So this is Esther chapter 2, verse 5. Esther chapter 2, verse 5, and we'll read on down to verse 7. All right. Actually, we'll just read Esther 2, 5, and 6, and then we'll drop down. So for this class, I'm going to try to not take too much time discussing Esther and the thing that she did. I want to focus really on Mordecai and the role that he played. Now, so this is going to be a background. This is going to be me giving a synopsis of the book of Esther, right? The book of Esther takes place during the time of King Ahasuerus, which is the Hebrew name for history calls King Xerxes. All right, anybody remember that book, that movie, The 300, where the Greeks had a Persian army that was coming to kill them and take over their land and destroy them? The king during that time in history is known as Xerxes. Xerxes was the king after Darius in the Persian Empire. So if you go into history, you read about the rise of the Persian Empire. There was a king, there's a King Cyrus of Persia. There's a King Darius of Persia. And then there's a King Xerxes, Xerxes the first. Xerxes the first is King Ahasuerus in the Bible. All right. During the reign of Xerxes, there was a feast that he threw for everybody in his palace, right? So just like today, Donald Trump is building a ballroom in the White House. And this ballroom is going to be for parties that the president wants to throw. Donald Trump believes he's going to be president forever till he dies, right? So Donald Trump wants a ballroom where he can invite all his friends to come party and hang out. But really, this is what you need to understand about those high society, elite type of people. When they throw a party, it's not for you to just come and have fun and hang out and, get drunk and bag a fine woman. It ain't like going to the club. You get invited to these invitation only type of parties. It's for you to come and pay homage to whoever's throwing the party. When these rich elite type people throw parties, like everybody talk about these Epstein parties. These Epstein parties were not come hang out, get drunk, and have sex with young girls. These parties were also come and let's do some business. Let's make a deal. Come and drop off a donation. Come and, pay me and ask whatever you want to ask of me. Come to this party, bring some money, and we'll see what deal we can work out. And that's what this party that Xerxes threw or Ahasuerus threw at Shushan the palace in the book of Esther, the first chapter. He had a celebration and he wanted to bring out all his friends and show how glorious his palace was. And part of the festivities was him putting his wife on display, his Queen Vashti. And they said Vashti, thought she was just a fine ass woman. And she used this opportunity that Xerxes threw a party to stand him up. She decided that she was not going to be put on display. She was not going to come to the party and mingle and say hi to everybody so everybody could. She wasn't going to be the candy on his arm at this feast. Vashti not showing up to this party sent a signal to all the other elite, powerful men at that time that a woman could just do what she wanted to do. And it was a bad thing that happened during this time. And all of Xerxes and advisors and the men that gave him counsel came to him and said, look, man, it's a bad look you threw this party and your woman didn't show up. You're going to have to get Vashti up out of there, man, and get you a new woman, because if we don't do nothing, it's going to send a message to women that they could just rebel and revolt against their man, and there's no consequences. So Ahasuerus really didn't want to get rid of Vashti. He was head over heels. Vashti was the best thing that happened to him. But his advisor said, you got to get rid of her. So he got rid of her, which began a search for the next queen for Ahasuerus, the next queen for Xerxes. And that's where Mordecai comes in. A decree is put out through everybody that's in the empire of the Persians. If you got daughters or nieces or women that are young and fine and look good, now is the time to bring them before the king to maybe have a chance for her to get chose. You understand? And this is not, don't think of this like men trying to sell their daughters or sell their nieces or sell their young women in their family. This was like a prideful thing. Who would imagine a decree goes out that says, who's the most beautiful woman in the kingdom? All these nations and all of these ethnicities and all of these people think that they are the most beautiful on the planet. Bring your beauty to be on display before the king. And one day the most beautifulest woman of all the people will be chosen. It was like that. It was like a beauty contest. But the reward for the beauty contest is that the finest woman is going to become the queen of the empire. And so that's where Mordecai enters into the picture. And we're going to start at Esther chapter 2 and verse 5. All right. So this is Esther chapter 2, verse 5. As we go through this, if anybody has any questions, all you got to do is just ask it online and we'll stop and we'll address your questions. All right. But let's go ahead. We're going to get to the book of Esther chapter 2, verse 5. Now I got to find Esther. Hold on. Bear with me. Esther, one of them books that be hiding between Ezra's and Chronicles and Proverbs. Bear with me. Hold on. Okay. So Ezra, Nehemiah. Okay. I thought it was before Job. I thought Esther was before Job. Esther is before Job. All right. Boom. Here we go. All right. Esther chapter 2. And we're on verse 5. This is important to understand who Mordecai was, where he came from, and why Mordecai had the audacity that he did. All right. So this is Esther chapter 2, verse 5. It said, now in Shushan the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Right. So Mordecai is from the tribe of Benjamin. Today, the Benjamites are the brothers and sisters descended from the West Indian islands. So you see what type of man Mordecai was, right? Verse 6, it says, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away. All right. So Mordecai was of the generation of Jews that were taken captive to Babylon. What does the Bible tell us about the generation of Jews that were taken captive to Babylon? Who were these people that the Babylonians saw fit to bring into their empire, that they saw fit to bring into their world to be conformed, to be the representatives of Israel in their land? Imagine the Israelites that got carried away captive into Babylon were the high-class Israelites. They were the government. They were the engineers. They were the mathematicians, the high society cultured people. The peasants and the slaves and the people that, didn't really have any societal value beyond their physical nature were not taken away captive into Babylon. And we're going to read about it here in the book of 1st and 2nd Kings. Give me a second to pull it up. This is 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. All right. 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. All right. All right. So this is I'm establishing some background for you to understand who Mordecai was, the stock of man he came from, and why this nigga had so much audacity. You understand? And when you understand Mordecai, you understand his background and where he came from, his perspective in the book of Esther makes so much more sense. If you just read the book of Esther and you read about Mordecai, you'll be like, man, that's a dumbass nigga. Why did he do that? Why would he be so headstrong? Why would he be so defiant? But when you understand who this cat was and where he was from, it makes a little bit more sense. All right. So I'm putting you in the mind of Mordecai. So here's 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. It says, and he carried away all Jerusalem and all the princes and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained save the poorest sort of the people of the land. So when the Israelites got carried away captive into Babylon, they took all the good people. It's damn near like what segregation did to the black community today. When the white man allowed for black Americans to segregate or to desegregate and to join into the white community, that's what took all our doctors out of the hood. It took all the lawyers and the engineers and the craftsmen and the electricians and the plumbers. That's who left the ghetto once America desegregated. What has propped America up and kept it being a great place is all of the greatness of the black community left the hood. And the people who are left behind in the ghetto, the people that are left behind in the hood, are the people who don't really have the skills and the knowledge and the tools to establish a healthy community, to establish a functioning society. And it's so evil that today, I'm in the city of Memphis, Tennessee, and everybody knows about the ills of Memphis. Everybody knows about the poverty in this city. Everybody knows about the kids breaking into cars and stealing cars and the violence and the robbing and the thieving and things that go on. And they look at these people as though something's wrong with them. Like, why can't y'all get with the program? Why can't y'all just adapt and, be good in society? These are the poorest sort of the people that have been left behind. There's a lot of well-to-do black people in the city of Memphis. They live in nice neighborhoods. Their kids go to nice schools, and they try to insulate themselves from the ghetto, from the poverty, from the crime. But you can't. But you can't look at the ghetto and look at the poverty and the low morality of the people and blame them. They are the victims of something horrible that happened to them. What happened to them? Desegregation and the white man waging a war. What's the word I'm looking for? Chemical warfare. They dropped crack and drugs in our community in the 80s, man. And down here in the South, cities like Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, you understand, Birmingham, Alabama, these were well-functioning, strong, affluent black cities. And the white man dumped drugs in the middle of them. At the same time, did everything they could to economically starve us. They took all the factories, took all of the good-paying blue-collar jobs, to where the only way you could make decent money was if you were someone who had risen to a level of affluence in this society. To be able to make a good living for yourself, you got to be somebody that has some knowledge, has some skills, and has a little bit of, tact to where you can blend in culturally to the society. You can assimilate a little bit. We call it code switching today. So a lot of brothers and sisters that don't have that skill. They don't have that ability. They are who they are, and they're going to be who they're going to be. But guess what? They shouldn't have to assimilate. They shouldn't have to elevate themselves to a certain level, because within their community, all those people who have assimilated and who have risen to a standard should be in that same community, helping them where they lack. But in the black community in these many places across the country, we don't have that. What we do have is black wealthy people who are affluent and educated and getting good money, doing everything they can to get as far away from niggas as possible. And that's something that we still suffer from today, but it took place in the beginning here in the Bible, all the way back when the Babylonians came and took all of the craftsmen and the princes and the men of valor and took them to Babylon and left in Jerusalem the poorest sort of the people. Everybody understand? Let's read on. This is 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 15. It says, and he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king's mother and the king's wives and his officers and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. So Mordecai is of the stock of the men of valor, of the craftsmen and the smiths, of the intelligent, educated, affluent of Israelite society that were taken captive into Babylon. Now, after the Babylonian captivity, we know that the Persians rose to power. The Persians and the Medes, right? When the Persians and the Medes rose to power, they conquered the Babylonians. What do you think they did? They took all the smart, all the well-to-do, all the craftsmen that were in captivity in the land of Babylon, and they brought them to Shushan, to the palace. So Mordecai is a man who in his life has experienced captivity under two nations. And now he's in the captivity under these Persians. And a decree goes out that the king is looking for the baddest, most finest woman in all the land. If you and your people think that your women are the most beautiful and the most finest, then you need to represent and come on out to the king, search for a queen. And only the finest, baddest women will do. Well, what do you think Mordecai did? Mordecai is an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. And what do Israelite men know about our women? We know our women are the finest, baddest, most beautiful women on the planet. So when this decree went out, what do you think Mordecai did? Let's read Mordecai, back in Esther chapter 2, we read now verse 7. It says, and he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also into the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. Everybody understands? So when that decree went out, Mordecai said, Esther, come on, baby, let's show them that God has blessed us with all of the beauty and all of the grace and all the wonderful things on the earth. And Mordecai gave Esther to Haggai and said, listen, man, we the Israelites, or we the Jews, or we the Israelites, and this is one of our daughters, and she's going to prove that she's the finest in all the land. Lo and behold, the prince, King Ahasuerus, who history calls Xerxes, goes through his search, and he finds that this Esther sister is the finest, most beautiful woman in all the land, of all the different races, and it's like a Miss Universe competition. And Esther, a daughter of the tribe of Benjamin, was deemed to be the most finest, and her reward was she got to marry the king. And that's how we start the book of Esther. Everybody understands? Now, what do you think that confirmed for a man like Mordecai? Mordecai, being an Israelite, having been born and raised in the land of Jerusalem, taken into captivity under the Babylonians, brought from Babylon into the land of the Persians. This is a man that has a lot of pride. This is a man that knows that we are the chosen people of God. This is a man that has no doubts in his mind that we are the supreme people on the planet Earth. And it's further confirmed when his niece, who he raised up from a little girl, is chosen to be the queen of this empire, because what women are more finer, more beautiful, more graceful than the daughters of Zion. Now let's fast forward to what goes on with this brother Mordecai. All right. So let's drop down to Esther chapter 2, verse 21. It says, in those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. Everybody understands? So Mordecai also was a man of honor. Mordecai heard these cats plotting on the king one day, and Mordecai, just think about being at your job or being at a slavery. Again, this is ancient times. This ain't like, today, where, what I'm trying to say. This is not a plot to assassinate the president. This ain't, something grand and major. This is Two cats on the job, mad about their boss, talking bad about their boss. But in ancient times, talking bad about the king is treason. It's something you would die for. And Mordecai being who he is, he hears something like this. The king is Vashti's husband. So if Mordecai hears this and don't say nothing, it's damn near like he's damning himself. But these cats don't know Mordecai has any connection to the royalty. They don't know Mordecai has any connection to the king. So they talking about, yeah, man, the king think it is and that. Man, we're gonna get him out the way, man. He don't even understand how easy it is to take him out. We be in the palace and doing this and that. I could just catch him one day and, you know what I'm saying, hit him with the poke him up. Mordecai had a plot. Mordecai go tell Esther, hey, listen, I heard these two cats talking greasy about the king. You need to go ahead and let him know he got some cats, you know what I'm saying, on his payroll that's talking greasy about him. And I don't want to see nothing happen to him or you. So you need to go ahead and let him know that I heard what was going down. And Esther went and made the report. Now, the king never knew nothing about it. Esther made the report. They found the two cats out, hung the two cats. They didn't even bother to tell the king. We know that because later on, in the book of Esther, the king is having trouble sleeping one night, and he said, man, go bring me the records. They bring him the records, and he reads about the plot against his life, that Mordecai was the man that alerted the officials and saved his life. You understand? But just to show you, Mordecai was an honorable man, upstanding cat. Everybody understand? Now let's get into the audacity of Mordecai. Before we get into Esther, the 3rd chapter, let's get the definition of this word audacity, because there's a lot of terms that we use frequently in conversation that we don't really know the meanings of. So in this class, we don't want to brush over anything. We want to get to the definitions of words. We do that in the ISUPK. We read this Bible. You come across a word you don't know. Don't assume that you know the meaning. Don't assume because you've heard it before, or you've used it in conversation, that you know what the meaning of it is. We like to get to the meaning of things here. So when we talk about the audacity of Mordecai, let's make sure that we're all on the same page and same level of understanding of what it is that we're talking about. All right. So here's the definition of audacity. It says the quality or state of being audacious. All right. Audacity is the quality or state of being audacious. Now, what does the word audacious mean? I'm going to keep reading. It says intrepid boldness. Audacity is intrepid boldness, like it's crazy boldness. You heard somebody say, you know, who's the balls on this cat? You do something that's amazingly courageous, amazingly bold. That's audacity. Everybody understands. One more. It says bold or arrogant disregard of normal restraints. That's what it means to have audacity. To be bold or arrogant disregard of normal restraints. All right. Now, what is the connotation of that word audacity? To be bold, to intrepid boldness, to be bold or arrogant disregard of normal restraints has a negative connotation. For somebody to have the audacity to do something is like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? That is exactly who Mordecai was. Mordecai was an audacious man. Mordecai was a cat that was very bold and had a disregard for the normal restraints, for things that was normal to everybody else. Mordecai didn't give a damn about it. You understand? And it's important to understand that is a righteous quality to have. To be someone who is audacious or to have audacity is absolutely honorable and righteous. So we're going to take this definition of audacity and put it in our notes. All right. Let me give you also. Let's get the definition of audacious. Audacious means to be intrepidly daring or adventurous, or to be recklessly bold or rash. All right. One more thing says to be contemptuous of law, religion, or decorum. So I don't like audacious. I like audacity, but I don't like audacious. Audacious is an adjective. Audacity is a verb. You understand? I mean, it's a noun. We want to stick with the noun of audacity. All right. Because that's what Mordecai has. So we're going to stick with intrepid boldness, bold or arrogant disregard of restraints. All right. That's what it means to have audacity. All right, bear with me. Put this in my notes. Audacity. Now, what is a word that we can find in the Bible that means what the word audacity means? If we wanted to find audacity, I said audacity is an honorable trait to have. To be someone who has audacity is absolutely righteous. It's zealous for God to have audacity. Somebody give me a scripture that'll prove that. Or what scripture can we get to show that it is honorable and righteous to have boldness? I got two scriptures in mind. I'll give y'all a couple seconds to chime in. If nobody chimes in, I'm going to give them to you for time's sake. All right. And these two scriptures that I'm going to get are going to, they are the embodiment of Mordecai. We're going to read in Mordecai. We're going to read in Esther, the 3rd chapter, about a trait that Mordecai had that embodies these two scriptures. Everybody understands? All right. Anybody, give me a biblical word for audacity, and give me a scripture that shows that to have the trait, or to have the ability or to have the audacity to stand for the Lord is something that's honorable. All right. I don't see anything in the chat, so for time's sake, I'm gonna give you two words that mean audacity. All right. I have the same connotation, same meaning as audacity. It's the word bold and also the word courageous. Everybody understands? Mordecai's audacity is like boldness, and it is like courage. It takes courage to be bold. It takes courage to have audacity. Everybody understands? And Mordecai was a man who was courageous and who was bold. All right, so the first scripture we're going to get is Proverbs chapter 28, verse 1. Let's get Proverbs chapter 28, verse 1. All right. Proverbs 28 and 1 says, the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. You understand? The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. To stand your ground on something, to say what you mean and mean what you say, to not back down, that takes boldness. It takes audacity. Everybody understands? The Bible says the righteous are bold as a lion. It's righteous to have audacity. It's righteous to stand firm and to be bold against something that society deems normal. Also, Deuteronomy 31 and 6. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. All right. It's Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Deuteronomy 31 and 6 says, be strong and of good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that does go with thee. He will not fail nor forsake thee. Everybody understands? To be strong and of a good courage is of the Lord. And we finna read in Esther chapter 3, Mordecai was absolutely a courageous, bold, and fearless man. Everybody understands? So now we got these two scriptures. Let's go ahead and get Esther chapter 3, verse 1, and we'll get into the audacity of Mordecai. Everybody understands? The audacity of Mordecai. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. And we're going to go down to verse 6. All right. Exodus chapter 3, starting at verse 1, and we're going to read down to verse 6. All right. So this is Esther chapter 3, verse 1. It says, after these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So in the palace, there was a man named Haman. And Xerxes said, Haman, you are the prince of all the princes, man. I'm raising you up to be my right-hand man. So this is a man who the king has acknowledged as being his right-hand man. You understand? And as we're reading about Haman being raised up, I want you to think of today. Think of your job. Think of a place where you work or a place that you frequent. And there's a lot of people there. Everybody, vying for position. Everybody wants to be well known, and everybody wants to be recognized, and everybody wants to be credited for their good works. And there are different work environments where, for instance, you work at a job and there's a parking spot that says, employee of the month or president only or vice president only. There's a lot of ways in society we honor status. There's a lot of ways in the society that we pay homage to people who have, earned a position. In this kingdom, in this empire, there was a way that they honored men who earned high status. A way that they honored men who held high position, and it's no different than it is today. But we're going to read about what was set in place for the honoring of Haman after the king came out and said, this man is the prince of the princes. He's my second in command. He's the man in this place. All right, so this is Esther chapter 3, verse 2. It says, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. So the king told everybody, man, when y'all see Haman, y'all bow. Y'all see Haman, you bow, right? And everybody bowed when Haman came through. Everybody except Mordecai. Everybody except this Jew who had grown up in Jerusalem and been taken captive into Babylon, and who had come captive in the Persian Empire. Everybody respected Haman the Agagite except for Mordecai. Why? Why did Mordecai have the audacity to not bow when Haman came through? Well, we just covered that. Mordecai, because he was a Jew, we don't pay homage to no man. We don't bow when no man walk through. You understand? Mordecai refusing to bow when Haman came through the room is like the audacity that many of us have in the truth today. And I wanted to teach this class so that brothers and sisters understand that there are things that we do in our everyday life that is absolutely audacious, the way Mordecai was audacious. For instance, I like basketball. I like football. I like music and concerts. You go to a basketball game, a football game, and they say the Pledge of Allegiance, I sit down during the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't give a damn about America's flag. I'm not paying homage or allegiance to any goddamn thing concerning America. Why? Because I serve the Most High God. I am a child of the children. I am of the children of Israel, and there are no gods with the Most High. We don't pay reverence to any high authorities. We don't salute, any heathens. And that was Mordecai. Mordecai wasn't bowing when these cats came through. You understand? Those of you who have children who are in school, what do we teach our children that go to school? At the beginning of the day, they say a Pledge of Allegiance. We don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Why? Because we are not pledging anything of ourselves to this society, to this country, to any inordinate objects like a flag. So we write letters to the office of the principals and say, listen, y'all going to say that Pledge of Allegiance. Our child is not going to participate, and y'all got to deal with that. What are some other things? Most of us were born and raised in Christianity. We come out of the church. We were celebrating Christmas our whole life. Celebrated Thanksgiving, celebrated the 4th of July. What happens when we come into the truth and learn what the Bible says about the high holy days of God? We stop celebrating Christmas. Jesus Christ was not born on December 25th. Furthermore, they did not. It's against Israelite culture, against the laws of God to celebrate birthdays. So what? We don't celebrate birthdays in the Israelite school of UPK. Our children don't celebrate their birthdays. You understand? We don't celebrate what just passed. Last month was Valentine's Day. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Our kids aren't going to be giving hearts and candies and flowers and do you like me letters to other children. We write to the school and let them know, listen, our child ain't going to participate in Thanksgiving, not going to participate in the exchanging of cards and candies on Valentine's Day. It goes against our beliefs. And as we do these things and we take this stance with the Lord, you have to know that these other nations and these people who we encounter look at us and say, who the hell do they think they are? The audacity of these niggas to not salute the flag. The audacity of these niggas to sit down while we sing the national anthem. The audacity of these niggas to write to the school and say our child is not going to participate in the celebration of any holidays. Our child doesn't eat pork, doesn't eat shrimp. It takes audacity to take that stance. And that audacity comes from the righteous, bold fear of the Lord. Everybody understands. And so Mordecai's audacity was born of his fear of God. Mordecai's audacity was born of his courage to stand against the things that didn't align with his belief system. His audacity came from his boldness to not give a damn what anybody thinks, to do what was right under any circumstance. Now let's continue. All right. This is Esther chapter 3, verse 3. It says, then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Mordecai, why you don't bow? Huh? It's like somebody saying, why you don't salute the flag? Why you don't stand for the national anthem? Why you don't celebrate Christmas? People in society will always try to get you to diminish your boldness. They will always try to weaken your courage to stand in the face of evil. They call it peer pressure. This right here is peer pressure in the Bible. Mordecai didn't do something that everybody was told they should do. They come into Mordecai. It's like being at the job and you know who's going to ask you about why you don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? You know who's going to call you about your kid not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? It's going to be a black teacher, a black principal. Nobody's going to have a problem with your desire to not salute the flag except one of your own. And that's a problem we've always encountered as Israelites. You understand? Anytime we go to take a stance for the Lord, it's rarely the heathens that are angry and come out against us. It's usually our own people. And so the people that also was in the palace with Mordecai came to him and said, man, why you transgress the king's commandment? He told us all to bow when Mordecai came through. You don't be bowing. What's wrong with you, Mordecai? You gonna get us all in trouble. You understand? It makes me think of slaves in the field. Oh, you gonna make massa mad? Why is you always making massa mad? Why you always doing things and saying things to rub these people the wrong way? Why you always causing trouble? That's what they come in and tell Mordecai. They asking of Mordecai. Why you causing trouble? Like, why won't you just bow and honor Haman, man? The king said we're supposed to do it. Esther chapter 3, verse 4. Now it came to pass when they spoke daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. Mordecai's answer for why he wouldn't bow, I'm a Jew. I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. We don't bow to other men. I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. We don't celebrate. I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Gad. We don't celebrate Christmas. I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. We don't salute the flag. You understand? My people were made captives under that flag. My people were brought into this land against their will and colonized and stripped of our history and our culture and our language. And now we starting to find out who we are. I will not partake in your Independence Day. We ain't independent. We haven't gotten free. What the hell is a nigga doing celebrating July 4th when in 1776 you were slaves? Then they told you that they freed you after the Civil War. Go look at the definition of the word emancipation. Emancipation is not freedom. Emancipation is the transference of ownership or authority from one party to another. What happened after the Civil War in America, black people were not set free. The authority over us, the ownership of us transferred from individual citizens of the states to the federal government. That's what happened at the end of the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, black people were not set free. We were emancipated, which means what? There was no longer private citizens who owned people in this country. Everybody now became owned by the federal government. That's what they don't tell you about that 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment did not abolish slavery. The 14th Amendment abolished slavery except if you commit a crime. If you commit a crime, who put you in bondage? The government. And that's what's happening today. There's still slavery in America. It's called the prison industrial complex. And everybody the reason, this is how I can say what I'm saying with assurity and with confidence. Because after the Civil War, America paid reparations to Southern slave owners for their loss of property. Why would the U.S. pay Southern slave owners reparations for the loss of their property? Because that property now became the property of the federal government. I could keep going. I could take you down the Social Security rabbit hole. Everybody getting the Social Security card, the birth certificate, the ID, and all of that. All of that is tied to the system of we still being slaves. And it's 2026. You black in this country. You might think you free. Go ahead and go try to lead the country. You're going to have a passport. Why do you have to have a passport? So they can identify you, so they can know exactly whose property you are. Who do you belong to? What state do you belong to? Who claims ownership over you? That's all a passport is. It's a freedom pass. Who needs freedom passes? Slaves need freedom passes. Huh? Now, you don't like it. You could disagree. You could say, oh, they Israelite niggas don't know what they're talking about. Or you could acknowledge the truth. You understand? I'm just showing you that it's in the Bible in ancient times. Because Mordecai was a Jew, there was things that he just would not stand for. And bowing down to a man was one of them. You understand? So now, did these cats at the job just take what Mordecai said and respect it? They say, okay, he a Jew. That's why he don't do it. Okay, he bold. Yeah, they known for being bold. They known for, they audacious. Nah. They hated the idea that this nigga had a reason to not bow. Why? Because they all bowed. None of them had any problem. None of them had any issue with bowing down to Haman. None of them had any issue with acquiescing to the king's orders. But somehow, in every empire and every kingdom that has ever been on the earth, there's been Jews who caused the problem. There's been those Israelites who wouldn't bow down, who wouldn't, pay homage, who wouldn't accept slavery and rulership of the authority of the time, and they had to be made an example of. Well, here we reading about it in the Persian Empire with a man named Mordecai who had the audacity not to bow down to Agagite, to Haman. Let's keep reading. This is Esther chapter 3, verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. Now, here's what you got to understand. This Mordecai not bowing is something that took place over a period of time. This wasn't just one day he didn't bow. The Bible don't give us a time limit, but it wasn't like it happened 2 days in a row, a week in a row. This is something that happened over a process of time. And Haman may not even notice it at first. Did he come in the room and this cat don't bow? He may not even acknowledge it. But once they came coming to Haman and saying, look, man, it's a cat in here, man. He said he would not bow to you, Ak. He don't care what the king said. He don't care what position you got. He will not bow to you. Once it came on Haman's radar, once he recognized, this nigga ain't bowing to me, it incensed Haman. And he made him infuriated. Because why? Because Haman said to himself, what the audacity of this nigga to not bow when I come through? Now, was Haman's anger At Mordecai not bowing, a reflection on Haman or a reflection on Mordecai? When we think about the scenario, who's in a position to accept the stance of the other? Here's Mordecai, a man that's a Jew, whose belief system, we don't bow to no man, I bow to God. Only time I bow is when I'm saying prayers. I'm acknowledging the Most High, the invisible God. Understand this. The Most High God of the Bible has been around since before civilization. In every civilization, in every culture that has ever existed on the earth, every people has recognized the invisible God. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, go study it. These cats that go to theologian school, they go to theologian school and learn about all belief systems, learn about all the different gods. They learn about the Greek gods, learn about the Babylonian gods. They learn about the Egyptian gods. You understand? Which is why anybody who is in Christianity that has a theology degree, I don't know how you could be Christian after going through theology school and learning about all of the messianic savior figures that existed before Jesus came on the earth. Like if you're a Christian and you celebrate, if you're a Christian pastor and you tell your people to celebrate Jesus on December 25th, you are an evil bastard. Because before Jesus was celebrated on before they celebrated Jesus on December 25th, they celebrated Horus, which is the Egyptian sun god. Because on December 25th, though, at the winter solstice, the sun sets at the same place in the sky for 3 days in a row. And then on the fourth day after the winter solstice, then the sun begins to set later and later and later. So they say that the sun died, was down for 3 days, and rose again. They celebrated Horus. In the Babylonian religion, they had a god Nimrod that they worshipped, who had 12 disciples, which was the 12 signs of the zodiac that they worshipped. And it goes back into other ancient religions, the things that Christians attribute to Jesus. Now, what do we know, being that we study the Bible? We don't believe in religion. We know that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. We know that the Israelites didn't celebrate birthdays. They might have celebrated the birth of a child, but a yearly celebration of your age, that is against the law of the Bible. You understand? The Bible, when they try to say Jesus had 12 disciples, we read in the Bible at one time Jesus had thousands of disciples. Jesus' disciples could not be counted for the multitude of them. So there's no way you could say Jesus is the sun god of Egypt. Not the Jesus in the Bible. Jesus in the Bible didn't have just 12 disciples. You understand? Give me some more things that they say. Now, I was introduced to this before I came into truth. All of the things that ties the Christian Jesus to ancient gods. Oh, another thing Christians believe. Jesus was born without his mother having sex. Christians believe that Jesus was born from immaculate conception, meaning the Spirit of God came down and put semen inside of Mary for a baby to form. That is not in the Bible. In the Bible, Joseph spread Mary's legs, cracked that thing open, and left a baby. In Matthew, the 21st chapter, Matthew, the first chapter, starting at the 21st verse, Joseph is worried because he impregnated Mary. Like, what am I going to do? So worried that the Lord had to send an angel to Joseph to say, chill out, Joseph, it's okay. It's all right to take your wife, Mary. Why does the angel call Mary Joseph's wife? In Matthew 1:18, it says that Mary was found with child before they came together. We know that the before they came together is talking about the marriage ceremony, because the Bible says they were espoused, meaning what? Joseph had gone to Mary's father, paid a dowry, made an agreement. I'll pay you X amount of dollars, and then I'll take your daughter to be my wife. Before Joseph finished paying off Mary's father, they had sex and Mary got pregnant. Joseph knew that that was wrong and out of order, and he didn't want everybody to think that Mary was fast. He didn't want everybody to look at Mary like she was a hoe because she got pregnant before her family had the celebration to announce it. So Joseph is worried, like, what am I going to do with this girl, man? He was thinking, I'm going to go ahead and hide her. I'm going to put her away so don't nobody see that she's pregnant. And the angel of the Lord came to Joseph and said, Joseph, man, it's going to be all right. The Lord wanted you to get that girl pregnant, man. You know what I'm saying? That's your wife, that's your woman, and that son that's born is going to be somebody amazing. You're going to name him Yahushua because he going to save his people from their sins. So the angel was sent to Joseph to comfort him because he was so worried about everybody looking at Mary like she was a young hoe who was fast in the pants because they got married before the ceremony. Christians do not even know that is in the Bible. Christians believe that a spirit came down, floated from heaven, and impregnated Mary. You understand? And if you believe that, then you believe in Zeus. If you believe that, then you believe in Zoroastrianism, which is a Persian religion of a savior figure like Jesus. You understand? That's not in the Bible. All those stories of ancient religions and their gods don't relate to the Bible. They relate to Christianity, but they don't relate to the Bible. Why did I say all of that? I said all that to say you can go to all those ancient religions, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians. You understand? Go to the Sumerians. You read about the Sumerian tablets that they deciphered. In all of those ancient religions, there was a recognition of an invisible God, a God that nobody saw, a God that nobody talked to, a God that nobody really worshiped because he was invisible. That's the God of the Bible. That's Mordecai's God. You understand? Now, did they respect Mordecai and his God? Did they respect the Jews and their stance to not bow down because of their belief? No, they didn't respect that. All they respected was themselves, which is why Haman could have just ignored Mordecai. Haman could have just said, yeah, man, he wanted them Jews. Like, he believed in that crazy invisible God. Who cares if he not bowing? But Haman was too proud. Haman was a man who had audacity as well. The audacity of Haman was not the same as the audacity of Mordecai. You understand? Mordecai's boldness was in righteousness. Mordecai's courage was in righteousness. Haman's audacity was in pride. Haman's audacity was in lies. How do we know? Because Haman never revealed to the king the truth about what it was that he was doing. And it took God to reveal the truth about Haman's actions for the king to have a full understanding. And when the king had a full understanding, the king put Haman to death. That's what we read about in the book of Esther. We celebrate the Feast of Purim because Haman had the audacity to think a nigga should bow to him. Haman had the audacity to say, if these niggas won't bow, we'll just kill all of them. We'll get rid of all the Jews and all the problems. Imagine that. Imagine you so mad at somebody that won't bow to you that you plot to erase his entire you erase his entire race off the earth, out of the empire. You go kill all of them wherever they can be found because one man wouldn't bow to you. The audacity of the wicked Haman. Now, let me keep reading in the book of Esther, the 3rd chapter, just in case we don't really fully get what it is I'm saying. Esther chapter 3, verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. You understand? Now let's read and see, how did Haman go about executing his plot to destroy Mordecai by including his entire race of people to be destroyed. So this is Esther chapter 3 and verse 7. It said, in the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. And their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business. to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Now ask yourself, did Haman tell the truth to the king? Was Haman bold as Mordecai when he went to the king? Was Haman courageous like Mordecai? Haman didn't have the audacity that Mordecai had. Haman didn't have the courage that Mordecai had. This man went to the king and told a goddamn lie. You understand? Based on the actions of one man. Because Mordecai would not bow to him. He went and told the king, yeah, man, there's some people in the empire, man, they problematic, huh? They don't listen to none of the king's laws. Is that true? Was Mordecai a criminal? Was Mordecai a man that did not respect authority? We read in this book of Esther, Mordecai didn't break no laws. Mordecai didn't violate any rules. If he did, they would have had him thrown in prison. Here's how you know that the bowing to Haman was not mandatory and was just some shit that Haman decided, well, the king said it, man, y'all niggas better bow. Which it's necessary to understand this and relate it to the world we live in today. There are a lot of things in this society, a lot of things in this world that are not laws, but people abide by it anyway. There's a lot of things that you don't have to do to be a law-abiding citizen, yet people do it anyway. When we say we don't celebrate Christmas, we don't celebrate Halloween, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, how often does the conversation end right there? Yeah, we don't celebrate Christmas. We don't celebrate that. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Very rarely does it stop there. You know what usually happens when you tell somebody you don't celebrate Christmas, you don't celebrate the 4th of July, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving? They come back and they say, why not? Well, damn. Do I have to celebrate Christmas? Do I have to celebrate Thanksgiving? I thought we lived in a place where you had the freedom of religion to do whatever you wanted to do. I don't celebrate Christmas. Well, what about the kids? Bitch, mind your business. They my kids. What do you mean, what about the kids? The kids don't celebrate Christmas neither. I'm just saying, man, you robbing them of their childhood. Damn. A kid got to celebrate Christmas to have a childhood? That's peer pressure. That's society that does that. I'm at the basketball game. They say the pledge. They saying the national anthem. I gotta stand. The man comes on the announcer and says, "Please stand for the national anthem." That's not an order. That's not a government decree. I ain't gotta stand for the goddamn national anthem. Fuck that anthem. But when you don't stand for the anthem, the people look at you like, "Oh, who you think you are? How dare you not love your country? Bitch, I don't love my country. I go to a job every day. I pay my taxes. I follow all the laws and the rules that are on the books. How dare you say I don't love the country?" That's what they did to Mordecai. That's how Haman felt about Mordecai. Bowing to Haman was not a law. It was not a legal decree. It wasn't something that was written in stone. It was something the king said, like, man, y'all should bow when y'all see Haman come through. Mordecai heard that and said, yeah, whatever. And guess what? That's the spirit that we have as black people. They tell you that you should do something. I'll give you an example. I used to work in slavery where break was a half an hour long. And this is something that I know black people can relate to. You get a half an hour break. You know when my break starts? My break starts after I use the bathroom for 15 minutes. After I warm my food up, which takes another 3 or 4 minutes. After I go to the damn machine and get me a soda. After I sit down with my food and I'm getting ready to eat, That's when my 30 minutes start. And guess what? After I eat my food and I eat my whatever, and I clock back in, guess what? I got to use the bathroom again. I'm going to use the bathroom again, and I'm going to go put my stuff up, and I'll sit back at my desk. By the time all that's coming past, it's been about 50 minutes. And you know what? But then nobody say nothing to me about my goddamn 50-minute, 30-minute break because I had stuff I had to do. You think I work a job 8 hours a day. I get one 30-minute break. You think I'm going to use the bathroom after I clock out? Why the hell would I do that? Why would I use the bathroom on my time? I got to wash my hands and warm my food up. You think I'm going to do that on my time? You think me washing my hands and warming my food up is going to happen on my time? Are you crazy? No. No. So yes, I'm leaving the work area 15 minutes before my break because I got to use the bathroom. Now, if you want to be stupid about it, I'll leave a half an hour before my break to use the bathroom. Then I'll come back to the work area with 10 minutes to go before my break. By the time I get back to the work area and put my gloves on, oh man, it's my break time. Now, instead of me taking the 50 minutes that I normally take, I'm taking an hour because you made me go to the bathroom a half an hour before my break. Like, we all do this. It's in our spirit that I'm not jumping through hoops and tap dancing over some shit that is really normal. I'm going to do my job. I'm doing what I came here to do. That was Mordecai. Mordecai did his job, man. He showed up on time, took care of business, heard some niggas plotting against the king, told about the plot. Mordecai was a good worker, man, a stand-up dude. But because he wouldn't bow down to some devil on the job, the devil wanted to kill all the niggas because Mordecai was one nigga that would not bow to him. And the way that the devil went about it, again, this is something that we can relate to. Modern day, on these slaveries, on these jobs, when somebody do something to try to get you fired, they don't try to get you fired because of, something that actually happened at the job, something wrong that you actually did. There's not a law. They don't go to HR to get you fired. They go to the boss to get you fired. Now, if you do something wrong and deserve to get fired, guess what? They go to HR. Sexual assault, cussed me out, disrespected me, they go to HR. But somebody go to the boss because of, telling the boss something you did. Yeah, man, so-and-so, such and such. We shouldn't allow that. I don't know. I think it's bringing down the morale. I think it's just making everybody, think some kind of way. And, maybe we should just eliminate this issue or this problem. That's what Haman did. Haman didn't go and say, hey, king, it's a nigga that won't bow when I walk through. I don't like it. I think we should eliminate this nigga. Haman didn't do that. That's what Mordecai, that's the boldness and the courage that comes from standing with the Lord. When you're righteous in a situation, you stand bold and I'm not bowing down to that nigga. Who is he? Nah, man, I'm a Jew. We don't bow to men. I don't care. Y'all can do it if y'all want to. I'm not doing it. I'm going to keep bringing this back to slavery. I think it's a modern day equivalent to to make us understand it. You want a job and they tell you Saturday is mandatory overtime. Maybe for y'all. I put my 40 hours in. Ain't a mandatory goddamn thing. Ain't nothing mandatory in my contract about working on my day off. Now, if I need the extra money, I'll work. But if I got something to do, I'm going to camp or got something necessary to do, I'm not coming. And I'll tell the boss ahead of time, hey, man, I'm not going to be there on Saturday. I heard what you said. It's mandatory. Everybody got to be there. I'm not going to be there. You know what I know? They cannot fire me for not coming in on my day off. I don't give a damn what the boss is talking about how we need everybody, all hands on deck. It's important that y'all be here. I'm not. Same thing with taking time off. Passover coming up. I put my time in 3 months ago. As soon as they gave us the time, I said, hey, went to the boss. Listen, man, I'm going to need off from March 31st to April 7th, man. I'm going to be out of town. I'm not going to be here. And he approved it. He approved the time off. They come to you 2 weeks for your vacation and say, I see here that you had this day off, but, that's not going to work for us. Some things came up and listen, man, I don't care what you're talking about. Whatever came up has none effect on my days off. So I'm telling you, I put my time in. My time was notified that they put in, I got the email. I'm telling you, I'm not going to be here, and my days better be paid, because if they're not, it's going to be a problem. So you can say whatever you want to say. I'm not showing up between March 31st and April 7th, and I'll see you back here on the 8th. Do it. They can't fire you. They cannot take away your days. It's in the damn company thing. And guess what? If you do that on a job and they fire you, so what? The Lord will give you another job. The Lord is preparing the doors for something better for you. But you ain't got to bend over backwards and tap dance and jump through fiery hoops for anybody in this society, in this culture. You just do what you told, do what you're supposed to do what's right, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. If the Lord is on your side, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And Mordecai was a man who knew that the Lord was on his side. Mordecai was a man that stood bold on that bowing to Haman, because Mordecai understood that the Lord is with me. Everybody understand? Now, what can we say about the audacity of Haman? Haman did not go to the king and tell the king the truth of the matter. Mordecai went and lied and said, all these Jews are people in the kingdom that won't bow to you. They don't respect your laws, and these are people that you need to eliminate. And the king gave Haman, he gave Haman the okay. He said, listen, Haman, do what you want to do to these people. You want to get them out the way. You say they shouldn't be in the empire. You my right-hand man. You the prince of the princes. Have your way with them. Everybody understands. Now, what can we say about Haman's methods? What does the Bible say about it? Let me get let's get Psalms chapter 38. Psalms 38, verse 12. And understand, when you read, man, the Bible is such an amazing book in that someone who only understands the Bible from a Christian perspective may not see the interwoven connecting thread throughout the Bible. You understand? In this class, we read through Esther, but I just went and showed you how in Proverbs 18, the righteous stand as bold as a lion. You understand? I went and showed you in Deuteronomy 31:6 that the Lord charged us to be of good courage. You understand? And trust in him. All throughout this Bible, the words that God gave to his people continue to re-emerge in different stories and in different circumstances of brothers and sisters facing turmoil and difficulty in their lives. And it's the same thing for the life that we're living today. Do not be remiss. Do not fail to recognize that you are Esther today. For you sisters out there, you brothers out there, you are Mordecai today. Our children are being raised the same way that these brothers and sisters were raised in subjection under another nation, being deemed as second-class citizens and not given the proper respect and honor. They had to fight to hold on to their identity, fight to hold on to their culture, fight to be who God called them to be in the midst of a society that wanted to tear them down and tell them that they were nothing. And it's necessary for us to understand this Bible and to allow these words to be lived through us. There's a ton of propaganda and misinformation that's out there in the world pertaining to the Bible and how it's just some old book with some old people that doesn't mean anything today. That is not true. The Bible is a book that is alive because the people in it are living. Hear what I'm saying? The Bible is a book that is alive because the people in it are living. What do I mean by that? What do I mean that the Bible is alive and the people who are in it are living? You go back to Deuteronomy, and I thank the Lord. I've been on this app called Threads, and I've been battling Christians for the last couple months. And in my battles with Christians, I'm coming up against a lot of lies that white conservative Christians are telling today about the Bible. I argued with a devil today who said Revelations is a book that pertains to the Roman Empire and was designed to give courage to the people of that time to stand firm with God in the face of their evil. But it is not a book that prophesies the destruction of America. And I had to get on there and say, you devils are starting to read the Bible and understand that the Jews are blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in America. And you're starting to read the Bible and understand that you're the Rome that's prophesied to be destroyed. You're reading Revelations and realizing that you're Babylon the Great. America's Babylon the Great. And now that you're reading about your destruction, now you can't love God. The Bible can't be the word of God. Or we got to say, well, Revelations ain't talking about America. That's talking about Rome. Here's how you cut that. Here's how you prove that the Bible is alive today. That we are the children and the people that we're reading about in this book, and their stories applies to the life that we're living today. And if that's true, what it means is that we are bound to the same standard of righteousness that they were bound to. We have to obey God and do all the things he said to do, just like the people in this book obeyed God and did what he said to do, or they died. And that's the life that we're living today. Excuse me. Another battle I had, some sister posted, I'm reading the Old Testament and the God in the Old Testament was off the chain. And I had to reply, well, the God of the Old Testament is God today. And what we don't know is that we still being held to the standard that he held his people to then. And the same way that they died for sinning, we are dying for sinning. The only difference is the priests don't come do God's dirty work no more. Now the Lord does it. And if we don't obey him and we don't do what he says to do, he sends the white man to exact his vengeance on us. Like, we're still the same people living out the same prophecies that God gave to these people. Now, how can I prove that? How can I prove that the Bible is a living book and that the people who are written to in the Bible are the people who are living today? We give you two scriptures to prove that the Bible is a living book and the people on the earth today are the people that the Bible was written for. Two scriptures. Let me get and you can't argue this. This is not something that can be argued. You cannot say, oh man, that was written back then. That applies to those people. It don't apply today. All right. Then you explain this to me. This is really for Christians. Christians are the ones that say, oh, that was old. That was back then. That don't apply today. Let's see here. Let's go to Mark chapter 12. Let's get Mark in the New Testament chapter 12. And then after that, we're going to get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. All right. I just put in my notes, the Bible is a living book and the people it was written to are alive today. Here's the proof of that in two scriptures. This is Mark chapter 12, verse 26. Let's get there. We're going to hold Esther. I'm going to hold in for Esther. Let's go ahead and get Mark in the New Testament. Let's get Mark chapter 12, verse 26. All right, this is Mark 12 and 26. It says, and as touching the dead, that they rise, have ye not read in the book of Moses, how in the bush God spake unto Abraham, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Ye therefore do err greatly. Now, what does Christ mean? Christ said, don't you know that when the Lord spoke to Moses in the bush, he said, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. What does that mean? The Most High is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he's not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. What must be true about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Remember now, this is Christ responding to a question about reincarnation. He's responding to a question about the dead rising. Christ said, don't you know that when the Lord spoke to Moses in the bush, he said, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Where were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when Moses spoke to God in the bush? I'm gonna wait for the answer to this question. If you watching this class, if you tuned into this class, there's only one right answer to this question. Christ was asked a question about reincarnation. And in Mark chapter 12, verse 26, he says, "And as touching the dead, that they rise, have ye not read in the book of Moses, how in the bush God spake unto him, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Therefore, do greatly err. Ye therefore do greatly err." Where was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when God spoke to Moses and said, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I'm going to sit here. If it take me 5 minutes, somebody better respond. You sisters that's in the class, Sister Mana Ima, Sister Kazak Wana, Sister Ainaya, Officer Aj Bagaramya. Y'all checked in for class. Somebody got to answer this. I see it's 8 people watching class right now. Somebody needs to answer me about Mark chapter 12, verse 26. Christ is responding to a question about reincarnation, and he says, when God spoke to Moses in the bush, he said, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. He is the God of the living and not the God of the dead. Where were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when the Most High spoke to Moses in the bush? I need somebody to answer. I'm going to give y'all 30 more seconds, man. Sister Ina Yah said they didn't exist yet at the time of Moses. That's not true, sis. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob came before Moses. Moses was born in Egypt after the sons of Jacob went into Egypt to escape the famine. Reading the book of Genesis around the 49th chapter, the children of Israel went into Egypt to avoid a famine. Jacob and his 12 sons and their children and their wives all went into Egypt together. 72 souls went into Egypt. Moses wasn't born until about 200 years later. So about 6 or 7 generations after we went into Egypt, Moses was born. So they had existed. Osh says they were sleeping with the Lord. Okay. I'm waiting for somebody else. They didn't exist yet at the time of Moses. That's not true. They had already been on the earth. Osh said they were sleeping with the Lord. Right? Once again, I'm going to reiterate the question. This is Mark chapter 12, verse 26. Christ is responding to a question about reincarnation. And he says, and as touching the dead that they rise, have ye not read in the book of Moses, how in the bush God spake unto him, saying, I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Ye therefore do greatly err. If the Most High is the God of the living, and he told Moses, who was living 200 years after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were on the earth, God told Moses, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. My question is, where were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when Moses said this? Kazak Shapar said reincarnated on the earth. That is the only answer that is correct. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were alive with Moses when God said to Moses, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am the God of the living, not the God of the dead. Does everybody understand that? Abraham is not asleep somewhere. Abraham's spirit is in the earth. Isaac is not dead. The spirit is not floating in heaven somewhere. Isaac's spirit is back in the earth. Jacob, our forefather Jacob, is not dead somewhere, waiting to be released. He's back in the earth. All of us who are on the earth today, we were on the earth previously. The Most High is not the God of the dead. He's the God of the living. Now, how can you prove this? How can I prove that the words written in this Bible were written for people who would be living in a future generation, but they would be the same people that God said these words to? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And this is, if you can really understand this, right? If you could really wrap your head around this, then you can understand the power of the Most High. And in understanding the power of the Most High, it removes all the confusion that you may have of different events that take place in the Bible. There's some things that happen in the Bible where if you don't know the truth, you will be like, man, God is crazy. Why would God do that? The same way Christians read the Bible and they think something's wrong with God, it's because they lack the understanding of the Most High. And after I show you Deuteronomy 28 and 68, which proves that the Bible is a living book and the people that it was written to are alive today, I'm going to show you that the events that took place in Esther could have been avoided completely if someone who lived several generations earlier had done their job. God had to do the amazing miracle that he performed in Esther, using Mordecai, using Esther, because of the failure of someone who lived several generations before them. If you just follow orders and do what God tells you to do, you have no idea what it is that you could be avoiding that comes in the future. You could live your life believing that you could do whatever you want and you'll escape God's judgment. The Lord is not going to allow you to escape. You disobey the Lord now, the Lord is going to catch up to you. The Lord is not going to be made a fool. The Lord is not going to be made a mockery of. What he says he's going to do it. And there's nobody that can stop what he says is going to happen from being done. Bear with me, y'all. Oh, hold up. I almost dropped the camera. Hold on. Bear with me. Hold up. Did I save it? Yeah, I saved it. All right, boom. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 68 so I can drive home this point. The Bible is a living book, and the people that it's written to are alive today. Everybody understands? Now let's get Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And this is what Christians don't know about the Bible. And this is part of the greatest conspiracy that of the last 500 years on the planet Earth. Nobody knows who the children of God are. Nobody knows who the Israelites are, where they're living. The Bible tells us who the Israelites are in prophecies. The God reveals where the children of Israel would be in the last days. If you just read the Bible without the dogma of religion, then the Bible is an easy book to understand. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Now remember, this is Moses. Let's start Deuteronomy 28 and 1 so we can get the context of who's being spoken to here. Everybody understands this is Deuteronomy 28 verse 1. This is Moses speaking to the children of Israel. Matter of fact, Deuteronomy chapter 27 verse 1. We're going to start at 27 and 1 because if you read Deuteronomy 27, Moses begins a speech to the children of Israel. This speech that Moses begins in Deuteronomy 27 continues through Deuteronomy 28 until we get down to verse 68. So just so we have the context of who is being spoken to, we're going to read Deuteronomy 27 and 1. It says, and Moses, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. So in Deuteronomy 27 and 1, Moses is speaking to the children of Israel, everybody that's gathered before him. And he said to them, keep the commandments of God this day. Going forward, obey everything that the Lord said to do. All these laws, these rules I've given you, follow them, right? Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 15. It's Deuteronomy 28 and 15. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. The word curses in this context is synonymous with the word punishment today. God said to the children of Israel, if you don't obey me, if you don't keep my laws, then these punishments are going to consume you and overtake you. Everybody understands. Now, what is the last of all the punishments that God said would happen, would befall the children of Israel if they disobeyed him? This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now let me break this down so we all understand. 6,000 years ago, in the wilderness of Egypt, Moses said to the children of Israel, if we disobey God, we are going to go into Egypt. What is Egypt? Egypt is a word synonymous with slavery. Egypt is a Greek word that means bondage. The name of that land was Mitzrayim. The Bible doesn't say you're going to go into Mitzrayim. The Bible says you're going to go into Egypt. You're going to go into bondage with ships. Who are the people on the planet Earth who history recognizes as having gone into slavery with ships? There's no people that are world renowned for having gone into slavery with ships except for so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians from North, Central, and South America. We are the children of the diaspora. We are the children of the transatlantic slave trade. God prophesied in the wilderness of Egypt over 5,000 years ago, if we trust the biblical timeline, to those people that were with Moses that day, you're going to go into slavery on ships. And your homeland, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, meaning the place where I'm speaking to you, you're not going to see it no more again. And you're going to be bondmen and bondwomen, and no man is going to redeem you. The word buy you is like set you free, to pay your ransom. God prophesied to people in the wilderness with Moses, you're going to go into slavery with ships. And you're going to see your homeland again, and you are going to be sold for bondmen and bondwomen. This word that was spoken to Israel was not fulfilled until 1492, when the transatlantic slave trade started with Christopher Columbus and the Taino Indians, taking 800 of them from the island of Hispaniola, which we call Haiti and the Dominican Republic today. They took them into Spain. What you have to understand is the people that Moses said, you're going to go into slavery with ships, God waited for 2,000 years, or more than 2,000. God waited for 4,500 years for those people to be brought back into the earth, to be alive again. And the transatlantic slave trade involved the same people that God prophesied they would go into slavery. That's who went into slavery. Because God is the God of the living. He is not the God of the dead. Do y'all understand that? It took over 2,000 years for a biblical prophecy to be fulfilled. But without a doubt, the people who heard Moses say, you're going to go into slavery with ships if you disobey God, they went into slavery on ships. Those were our great-great-grandmothers and great-great-grandfathers. Those were our people who were rounded up and put in chains and put on the bottom of ships and sailed from the west coast of Africa, sailed from England, they sailed from Spain and Portugal, sailed from North America to South America, from South America to North America. I've been doing some studying. There's something called the Virginia Slave Codes of like the 1700s, right? Where in Virginia, there was a law passed that any natives who were put on ships. When they arrived at their new destination, they were identified as Africans. There were wars that took place here in North America, wars in Georgia, wars in the Carolinas, wars in Florida, wars in Massachusetts, wars in New York, wars in Maryland. And the people who were the Native Indians that were prisoners of war, they were put on boats in Jamestown, Virginia. They were put on boats in Boston, Massachusetts. They were put on boats in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. And they sailed down the Atlantic. And when they arrived in Charleston, North Carolina, they got off the ship and they were identified as Africans. They never came from the west coast of Africa. They came from Jamestown, Virginia. They came from Boston. They came from New York. They came from Pennsylvania. But because they arrived at the port on boats, they said that they were native. They said that they were Africans. If you go look at any slave sign for the sale of slaves, you're going to see Negroes for sale. You're not going to see Africans. Africans were not put into captivity. Israelites were put into captivity. Hebrews were put into captivity. Negroes were put into captivity. We were the people that God told, you're going to go into slavery on ships if you disobey me. And what do we know about the people that Moses was speaking to in Deuteronomy? We know that none of them made it to the promised land except for Caleb and Joshua. Caleb and Joshua were the only two who lived through the wilderness and made it into the promised land, which means all those people that heard Moses say the words, we're going to go into slavery with ships. They were sent into slavery with ships. All the hundreds of thousands of them, all the millions of them, they lived the life, and the God and the Most High brought them back into the earth because they could not escape God's judgment. Now, what does that have to do with the audacity of Mordecai? Who is Haman the Agagite? Where does the lineage of Agagites begin? Let's go back into the Bible. Let's go back and get Exodus. Exodus. Let's get Esther. You understand? Because I said the Bible is a living book, and it's written. The people it was written to are alive today. Christ said, as for touching the dead, in the book of Moses, God said to Moses in the bush, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am the God of the living and not the God of the dead. That must mean that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are alive today. That must mean that Moses is alive today. That must mean that Joshua and Ezekiel and Daniel and Nehemiah and Ezra and Esther are alive today. That means Mordecai is alive today. I'm reading about the audacity of Mordecai and telling you, brothers and sisters, you have the audacity of Mordecai. The same way you won't stand for the national anthem, the same way you won't salute the flag, you're like Mordecai who won't bow to Haman. And the same way that Haman hated this prideful nigga, America hates you prideful niggas today. But guess what? The audacity of Mordecai was born out of his boldness for the Lord. The audacity of Mordecai was born out of his courage to stand for what was right. And that is where our audacity comes from. And you should stand in that audacity. You should praise God for that audacity, because it takes audacity to spark a revolution. It takes audacity to raise up a generation of children that will only know freedom and will never know what it means to bow down and be walked over like a goddamn slave. And if you can understand what I'm saying now, then think of who your children are. I often look at my life. I know my life, what I've lived through. I know the family I was born in. I know the trauma I was introduced to at 5 years old. I know the shit that I lived through that molded me to be the man I was in the world. And I know what it was that made me give my life to God when I was 24. I know what drove me into the truth. And all I could think about is, damn, I must have been somebody worthy of the Lord's deliverance. I must have been somebody that the Lord said, this cat ain't going to live a long, horrible life in the world. I'm going to take him out of it at 24. And it touches me sometimes. I cry sometimes wondering, man, who was I? What did I do that God gave me this blessing to be able to know the truth at such a young age? I've lived my last 15 years of my life in the truth. Being able to experience everything that I have in life through the veil of knowing, man, it's the Lord doing this and it's testing me and it's just a trial and I can't fail because the Lord made me to be great. And I've been able to conquer some things that aren't conquerable. And there's times that it touches me. It's so heavy that I cry because I don't understand why I deserve this. And then I look at my daughter. I have a daughter. And I say, if I was somebody amazing, if I did something great in the past that God said, this man going to find the truth. Well, who is this person I'm raising? Who is this person that was born to know God, born to know the truth, born to obey the Most High, to never celebrate a birthday, to never celebrate a Christmas? Who is she? And it's heavy. It's heavy. Because we are charged with raising up these people who God deemed worthy of being born in the truth. They are the people that are going to walk into the kingdom of heaven. They are the people that's going to make a nation that is deserving of Christ returning. And it's an amazing thing if you can understand that the people you're reading about in this book are the people who are walking around on the earth today. And guess what? If we are the people that we read about as being the servants and the oppressed and the people that are being ruled over, then what does that mean about our oppressor? They the devil in this book. They the villain in this book. You're reading Revelations about the horror of Babylon. That's Donald Trump in America. That's the white man today. All this evil going on in the world, these people deserve what is going to happen to them because they've always been the villain. They've always been the criminal. They've always been the evildoer. And we've always been the people that God called to obey him and to serve him. And we are deserving of what God said we are deserving of because we're earning it right now. We are earning our deliverance by obeying the Lord, by remembering Mordecai, by remembering Esther, by keeping the Feast of Purim. You understand? Because Akshapar, you're getting ahead of me, and you getting ahead of me in the class, Ak. You understand? I'm gonna go back and show you in the book of Esther who Haman is. And this whole book of Esther exists because a man generations earlier did not do what God told him to do. All right, I'm gonna show y'all what Kazak Shapar said. Kazak Shapar said, Haman the Agagite from King Agag, who was an Amalekite, who was an Edomite, the white man. And he is absolutely correct. You understand? Haman, the Agagite, is a descendant of King Agag. Who was King Agag? Let's go in the Bible and find out who King Agag was. The progenitor or the father of the Agagites. All right, let's get 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 8. All right. Let's get 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 2. 1 Samuel 15, verse 2. First Samuel 15 and 2, and it says, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did in Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. The Lord gave Saul an order to destroy the to destroy the Amalekites, wipe them off the face of the earth, kill all their cattle, burn all their possessions, all of their ornaments, all their garments, go and destroy them off the face of the earth and don't leave anything, right? This is the order that God gave. And this is 1 Samuel chapter 15, same verse. Read on down to verse 7. All right. This is 1 Samuel chapter 15. We have verse 7 now. It says, And Saul smote the Amalekites alive, And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah unto thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and the oxen and of the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. Meaning they took all the stuff that they could salvage, took all the stuff that they could, keep, all the stuff that was valuable, all the stuff that nobody would want, all the trash and the garbage, they destroyed it, right? Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel. It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me and have not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried all night long. The Lord came to Samuel and said, Saul did not do what I told him to do, and it grieves me. Why was the Lord grieved over Samuel not killing Agag and wiping out the Amalekites? What's wrong with this God that he wanted all these people dead? Why would this God want all these people to die and be erased off the earth? This is 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 14. Well, hold on, let me see something. All right, I'm going to keep reading 1 Samuel 15, right? It's 1 Samuel 15 and verse 14. And Samuel said, what meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Saul said, I have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, and I will tell thee what the Lord has said to me this night. And he said unto him, say on. And Samuel said, when thou wast little in thine own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? And the Lord anointed thee king over Israel. And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore then didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil and didst evil in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil, the sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal. This is a lie. This is a lie. Saul is making an excuse for not doing what God said to do. And the excuse was they was taking the stuff, they going to sacrifice it in Gilgal. All I did was keep alive Agag. We killed everything else. He's lying. And Samuel knows he's lying because God came to Samuel and said, Saul did not kill everybody I told him to kill. And God was angry about it. Verse 22. And Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected thee from being king. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now, therefore, I pray thee, pardon my sin and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected thee from being king over Israel. The Lord took the kingdom from Saul because he did not kill all the Amalekites. And not killing all the Amalekites was a great sin in God's eyes. Why? Did God just hate God? Wanted Amalek dead for what Amalek did to the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. Also, God knows the future. Where the Lord dwells, where the angels are, they don't live on a linear timeline like we do. They can be in the present, in the future, in the past, at any time. God knew that King Agag, if he lived, would have children. And those children would have children. And those children's children would be known as the Agagites. Amalek, king of Amalek, Agag, who Saul spared during the days of Samuel, is the great-great-great-grandfather of Haman, the Agagite, that we read in the book of Esther, that had a law decree passed to kill all the Jews during the days of the Persian Empire. If Saul did what the fuck he was told to do and obeyed God's word and killed all the Amalekites and not spared nobody, then there would be no Haman generations later to threaten the lives of all the children of Israel. Not only that, if Saul does what God ordered him to do and kills all the Amalekites, there would be no small hat Jewish people alive today. The forefathers of the so-called Jewish man who's from Poland, who's from Russia, who's in the Middle East right now, Benjamin Netanyahu and them, they are the descendants of Amalek. There would be no Israel in the Middle East if Saul did what God told him to do. There would be no Israel bombing the piss out of all those Arabs right now if Saul did what God told him to do. There would have been no people for Hitler to want to put in ovens if Saul did what he was supposed to do. There would be no Rockefellers. There would be no Rothschilds. There would be no Warburgs. There would be no DuPonts if Saul did what God told him to do. You read the Bible and say God is evil. Why would God want to kill these people? God was trying to save the earth from a great evil that we're dealing with today. There is a poison and a plague on the planet known as the white man. And the worst of the white man is the so-called Jew. There would be no so-called Jews in the earth if Saul did what God told him to do. Saul had the heart of a Christian. Saul didn't have the heart of a soldier. Saul didn't have the mind of a soldier. Saul did not do what God said to do. And because Saul did not do what God said to do, we in the middle of World War III. King Agag was allowed to live because of Saul's rebellion against God. And the consequences of that rebellion showed its face generations later at Shushan the palace under King Ahasuerus, because the man that Mordecai would not bow to was an Amalekite, a descendant of Agag. So when you read in Esther about the great amazing works of Esther, about the audacity of Mordecai, you're reading a story of a great evil that God intervened on our behalf to avoid, when God could have avoided it by there being no Haman to begin with. There are consequences for your actions. There's consequences for disobeying God. There are things that come into the earth that have, people talk about the butterfly effect. That's one hell of a butterfly effect. Saul did not kill Agag. Because Saul didn't kill Agag, Haman was allowed to be born. And Haman was born, and Mordecai would not bow to him. And Haman went to the king and said, we should kill all these Jews because they are evil people who have laws that go against the king's laws, and they won't do what the king said to do. And the king said, go ahead, kill all of them. And Mordecai went to Esther and said, girl, there's a reason that God made you so fine and beautiful and allowed you to become the king, the queen of this empire. And it is so that you could intervene on your people's behalf today. And Esther had the people to fast for 3 days and to pray that when she went before the king found favor. And when Esther went before the king had already dreamed a dream. God had the king dream a dream that he could not sleep. And the king went and looked at those records and found out about this Mordecai that had told the officials about a plot against his life. And the king said, I want to celebrate this Mordecai. He went to Haman and said, Haman, if I wanted to celebrate somebody for doing something amazing, what would you suggest I do? And Haman, thinking that the king was going to bless him, said, man, I would put him in your finest garments, parade him around the whole palace, make everybody bow to him and pay homage to him, make everybody give him money, give him wealth and riches. And the king turned around and did that for Mordecai in the sight of Haman. And then the day that Haman had determined for the children of Israel to be destroyed from off the face of the earth, Esther went and told the king, Haman has sent out a decree to kill my people. And Mordecai, who you celebrated the other day, that's my uncle. And Haman wants him dead because he would not bow to him. And the king found out and said, what? You know what the king said? The audacity of this evil bastard Haman. And the king had Haman hanged. Not just Haman, Haman's wife, Haman's kids, Haman's belongings. The king did to Haman, the Agagite, what Saul did not do to King Agag. And this story of Esther is one that we must all remember. Never forget the audacity of Mordecai. Never forget the boldness and the courage that comes from the Lord to stand for what is right. We only are meant to do what we have to do. There are things in this life that are optional, and you do not have to do the option of bending your back and bowing down to serve your oppressor. You got a job, go to your job, work your job. They collect taxes, pay your taxes, but give your love to God's people. Give your spirit to the Lord. Don't participate in their festivities. Don't partake in their customs. Do what the Lord said to do. If we can be the people that God called us to be, if we live the lives that God called us to live, if we do the things that God has called us to do, then we will inherit the earth the way that God prophesied that we would. We are in the days of the end, brothers and sisters. Look at what the Lord is doing. Lock into these classes. Learn this truth, man. Change your life. Become who God called you to be, because the time that we have in this empire is not long. The same way the Lord did a quick work in Esther, the Lord is going to do a quick work with us here in this land called America. And we have to be a nation that is deserving of God's deliverance. And we cannot be deserving if we aren't doing the things that God said for us to do. With that, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we have been teaching so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on the earth. With that, I will see you all for class tomorrow. Drink up, eat up, celebrate Purim, remember Mordecai, remember Esther, and understand that we are them in the earth today.